Hey, what's up? It's Bentley and welcome back to my channel. I just got done reading J.K. Rowling's essay titled J.K. Rowling Writes Her Reasons for Speaking Out on Sex and Gender Issues. It was released on June 10th, 2020. I will link the essay down below. I'm just gonna pop up some things that I thought were funny. I'm not calling her out as transphobic or telling you to send her hate. This is just for entertainment purposes. My opinion on her is she doesn't realize she's being transphobic. I don't think she's purposely picking at the trans community and trying to piss us off, but she's very uneducated about what it means to be trans and what gender dysphoria is, and this really shows in her essay. And instead of being offended, I'm just gonna laugh because it's pretty funny how she doesn't know what she's talking about. So it starts off with, "This isn't an easy piece to write for reasons that will shortly become clear, but I know it's time to explain myself on an issue surrounded by toxicity. I write this without any desire to add to that toxicity." I don't know if she realizes that her tweets are already spreading toxicity. I'm all for freedom of speech and she can say whatever she wants, but she's not listening to anybody that's telling her why what she's saying is transphobic or her wording is transphobic. She's just fighting back. So basically the whole essay starts off with her getting attacked on Twitter because she supported that girl Maya, the tax specialist who lost her job when she was deemed transphobic. But then the article goes away from that. So I wanted to point out some things that I thought were just hilarious. So let's start off with why she's writing this article, and then I'll get into the things that she just did not say correctly. "My interest in trans issues predated Maya's case by almost 2 years, during which I followed the debate around the concept of gender identity closely. I've met trans people and read sundry books, blogs, and articles by trans people, gender specialists, intersex people, psychologists, safeguarding experts, social workers, and doctors, and followed the discourse online and in the traditional media." Okay, well, I don't know any traditional media that's on transgender side, so that doesn't really help. "On one level, my interest in this issue has been professional because I'm writing a crime series set in the present day, and my fictional female detective is of an age to be interested in and affected by these issues herself. But on another, it's intensely personal, as I'm about to explain." So she's basically summed up, she's saying she's getting attacked on Twitter because she accidentally liked this post instead of screenshotted it, because she was screenshotting tweets that she liked for her essay to then study more about whatever the tweet was about, but she accidentally liked one and then was getting attacked by it. It doesn't say what tweet it was. I'm assuming it can't be a good tweet. Okay, so then she says, "Months later, I compounded an accidental like crime by following Magdalene Burns on Twitter. Magdalene was an immensely brave young feminist and lesbian who was dying of an aggressive brain tumor. I followed her because I wanted to contact her directly, which I succeeded in doing. However, as Magdalene was a great believer in the importance of biological sex and didn't believe lesbians should be called bigots for not dating trans women with penises, dots were joined in the heads of the Twitter trans activists and the level of social media abuse increased." Here's my problem with this. I don't really know who's out there calling people bigots for that. I feel like people are being called bigots because they're wording things wrong. Personally, I'm never upset if somebody doesn't want to be with me because I'm trans, because there's a ton of people that are gonna want to be with me regardless. So if people are actually calling them bigots, I don't understand where that's coming from. I've never seen that. I feel like the bigot part is that you're not classifying transgender women as women when that's what they are. Like, biologically, they're never gonna be a woman, but there's no reason to disrespect their gender identity. And then she goes on saying she stepped back from Twitter because of all the abuse. You can read more detail in the essay. And then she goes on saying she was posting about children's art and stuff, and she was getting called a TERF months later. And then she describes what a TERF is, which I'll put the definition here, but a TERF is an acronym coined by trans activists, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist, which is not a slur. If you are excluding a group of people that is either fact or fiction, it's not a slur. It's not an offensive thing to say, hey, you're excluding this group of people. And she's taking that as offense, and if she would just open her mind and realize, hey, we're trying to say you're excluding us, can you include us in this conversation? But she's refusing to, and she just thinks everything's an attack, even when people are trying to talk to her. And then this is the funny part, that she's just clearly not understanding what's going on. "They'll call us transphobic. They'll say I hate trans people. What next? They'll say you've got fleas? Speaking as a biological woman, a lot of people in positions of power really need to grow a pair." And then she gives her 5 reasons as to why she feels the need to talk about this publicly instead of keeping it in her own head, which my opinion, she should just even though she might not be meaning to say the wrong thing, she is, and she just continues to hurt the trans community. And then she says she funds a bunch of money into medical research for MS, a disease that behaves very differently in men and women. "It's been clear to me for a while that the new trans activism is having, or is likely to have if all its demands are met, a significant impact on many of the causes I support, because it's pushing to erode the legal definition of sex and replace it with gender. Nobody is trying to get in the way of research for any disease. If a transgender person gets a disease that affects a biological female or a biological male body differently, and the person comes out to the doctor and says, I was biologically born this, they are going to know how to treat the person and move on. There's not gonna be a giant puzzle they have to go through. Just like if a transgender man got breast cancer, they're not gonna be like, oh my God, we don't know how to deal with this. And plus, cis men can get breast cancer as well. And then her next part here. I'm concerned about the huge explosion in women wishing to transition, and also about the increasing numbers who seem to be detransitioning, returning to their original sex, because they regret taking steps that have, in some cases, altered their bodies and taken away their fertility. Some say they've decided to transition after realizing they were same-sex attracted, and that transitioning was partly driven by homophobia, either in society or in their families. So I'm sure some people have done that, and that sucks, and I have total respect for detransitioners. I'm really glad that there are detransitioners, because that means that they're living their true selves and they realize transitioning wasn't for them and now they're happy. But people that are trans also get hate, just like people that are gay. So I don't see this huge population transitioning because they have homophobic thoughts, because they're still gonna get hated on for being trans. And then she goes on to say, most people probably aren't aware, I certainly wasn't until I started researching this issue properly. The majority of people wanting to transition to the opposite sex were male. So I'm assuming she means biological males switching to female. She doesn't make that clear. The ratio is now reversed. The UK has experienced a 4,400% increase in girls being referred for transitioning treatment, so I'm assuming she means trans men. Autistic girls are hugely overrepresented in their numbers. One thing I don't think she's thinking about is biological women have more courage now to transition to male, maybe from it being in the media. I know personally I waited a long time, not because I wasn't sure, but because I was very insecure and didn't want to lose my friends and my family. I don't think it's a big conspiracy like she's thinking it is. And then she says, parents online were describing a very unusual pattern of transgender identification where multiple friends and even the entire friend group became transgender identified at the same time. Have you ever thought maybe that's because they were all trans and they became friends because they knew they had something in common and they built their own support group? Is there something wrong with children building their own support group because they might not have it at home? Okay, this next part I find very funny, but also very sad, because I don't know if J.K. Rowling is like internalized her own transphobia and she is a trans man, because this next paragraph kind of feels that way. The writings of young trans men reveal a group of notably sensitive and clever people. The more of their accounts of gender dysphoria I've read, with their insightful descriptions of anxiety, disassociation, eating disorders, self-harm, and self-hatred, the more I've wondered whether, if I'd been born 30 years later, I too might have tried to transition. You don't have to be born at a certain time. You can go transition right now, JK, go. The allure of escaping womanhood would have been huge. I struggled with severe OCD as a teenager. If I'd found community and sympathy online that I couldn't find in my immediate environment, I believe I could have been pursued to turn myself into the son my father had openly said he would have preferred. Okay, well, I feel bad for her, but also I'm so confused. Transgender people are transitioning because they have gender dysphoria, not because of what their dad wants them to be or what society wants them to be, or because of a mental illness. And then more about that, she says, as I didn't have a realistic possibility of becoming a man back in the 1980s, which she could have if she wanted to. I know people have transitioned even before that, so I don't know what she's talking about. That just kind of makes me sad, and I don't know if she understands that she could have done that. It had to be books and music that got me through both my mental health and my sexualized scrutiny and judgment that set so many girls to war against their bodies in their teens. Okay, that really sucks that she had depression and OCD and like suffers from mental illness, but I'm really confused as to how she's connecting that with how transitioning would fix that stuff, because I have depression, and yeah, a lot of my depression was alleviated from transitioning because a lot of my depression was stemmed from gender dysphoria, which I still have a ton of because I need top surgery and stuff, but I still am always gonna have depression. Transitioning didn't like treat my depression or make that magically go away. And then she's going on to say that 60 to 90% of gender dysphoric teenagers will like grow out of it, which I don't believe that number. I don't know where she's getting that from. And this is one of the parts where it kind of hurts, because she's not getting it. She says, it isn't enough for women to be trans allies. Women must accept and admit that there is no material difference between trans women and themselves. Okay, once again, nobody is saying that. We know there is a biological sex. We are just asking for our gender identity and our gender expression to be accepted without question. Nobody's fighting the biology side of this. And then she has a couple paragraphs about how she's a domestic abuse survivor and like, good for you. That's awesome. I'm really glad you got out of that. Nobody deserves that abuse. I'm really sorry you went through that. Then she goes on to say this. I believe the majority of trans-identified people not only pose zero threat to others, but are vulnerable for all the reasons I outlined. Trans people need and deserve protection. Like women, they're most likely to be killed by sexual partners. Trans women who work in the sex industry, particularly trans women of color, are at particular risk. Like every other domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor I know, I feel nothing but empathy and solidarity with trans women who have been abused by men. See, so like she says some really sweet stuff and she gets the abuse side of it, but she's just not wording things correctly and she's coming off as a TERF. Then she goes on saying she wants all trans women to be safe, but then this is where it turns again. And then she says, huge numbers of women are justifiably terrified by their trans activists. I know this because so many of them have gotten in touch with me to tell their stories. They're afraid of doxing, of losing their jobs, of their livelihood, and of violence. If you're cis and you don't understand, maybe don't like tweet stuff. Find a trans person and ask them their opinion. Nobody's forcing these cis people to go online and like post hateful things that are getting them fired. Like you put yourself in that boat. And then she's mentioning how now in certain countries and states you can like switch your gender without having hormones or surgery, and how that's not fair, which some people literally do not have the health to have hormones or have surgery, and they are just as valid as people that do. Some people don't want to take hormones for personal reasons. Some people don't want surgery for personal reasons. They are still valid in their gender identity. They should still be allowed to change their driver's license for them to live a more comfortable life. There should not be rules and a law book of what you have to do to transition to be valid. Anybody is valid. So then she ends the essay with saying, all I'm asking, all I want is for similar empathy, similar understanding to be extended to many millions of women whose sole crime is wanting their concerns to be heard without receiving threats and abuse. So personally, I'm not gonna attack anybody online. I'm gonna call them out and I'm gonna say what I feel, but I'm not gonna be mean about it. I'm gonna say, hey, this is transphobic because. I know a lot of people have been attacking her, and at the end of the day, attacking and fighting with someone isn't going to solve anything. It's going to be better if you can have like a true debate about it. But a lot of things she is saying are transphobic, and I don't even know if she knows she's doing that, because she's always like, I support trans people, I support trans people. But actions speak louder than words, you know what I mean? So basically I wish JK would do some more research and listen to people instead of feeling attacked about everything, because she's taking so many things out of context. People are not gonna legally change their gender to go into a bathroom and be a predator. If they want to be a predator, they're going to do that regardless. Going out of the way to change their gender that's just nuts, dude. And making laws that are helping with equality and helping trans people and helping aid dysphoria are not and should not be associated with predators. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe. Please find me on Instagram and Twitter at TheBendyBoo, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.